Welcome to Like and Follow, a podcast exploring social media and digital marketing presented by Milk Bar Digital. I'm Ben, and on this episode, we'll be looking into some more trends that have been catching our attention lately. When we were putting together our last trends recap episode, we realized that we had heaps to talk about, so why not make it a two-part special? In this episode, I'll be chatting with some more members of the Milk Bar Digital team about the social media trends that they've found interesting, whether they be a hashtag, some content, or accompanying ethos. If you haven't watched our previous trends recap, head to the link in the show notes for more. But without further ado, please enjoy part 2 of our trends recap for 2020.
You're listening to the Like and Follow podcast, presented by Milk Bar Digital.
I'm Carmela, and I'm a social media coordinator at Milk Bar Digital.
What's the trend that you feel has made an impact in the last 6 months?
So I think we might see more opportunities to sort of utilize more alternative platforms to reach our users even more. And for example, even though Facebook and Instagram are understandably sort of, for lack of a better term, dominating the space as the core two platforms that we use for B2C and B2B businesses, I think that because of how difficult it can be to sort of get that organic reach, more marketers are going to sort of look to alternative platforms anyway.
When you say alternative platforms, which platforms are you talking about?
For example, take TikTok right now. It's huge and we know that. And because of the content that's on it, it's short content that's easily scrollable, which makes it a good social platform. And sort of the audiences, it's kind of like you can start from young audiences, but we've seen, older people on TikTok. And I think that even though it doesn't have the kind of capabilities that Instagram and Facebook have right now to sort of utilize digital marketing, it's something that can definitely grow. For example, if we take Instagram, back then it was kind of just about sharing photos to your followers who more often than not were like your friends and your family. And now we've seen them grow into like a platform that's like, it houses stories and we can display ads on them. And now we even have Instagram shops. So while TikTok and other platforms like it might not have the capabilities right now, I definitely see it being a possibility in the future.
I think that's really interesting to see how we have had such big like social media platforms like a Facebook or like Instagram and how they started. We were there for when they started. And now that we're seeing these younger, smaller social media platforms appear, it's kind of like we've already got a blueprint of how they're going to go forward.
Exactly. And especially if they're able to kind of get that momentum, we can definitely see it blowing up to the same way that, or I suppose TikTok has blown up, but in the same capacity that Instagram has, for example.
And I think with TikTok especially, the reach is so wide that there's so much opportunity for marketing to get in there and try and make their mark, especially early days.
Yeah. And, we've already seen some brands kind of experimenting with TikTok anyway, especially in sort of the fashion space. So it'd really be interesting to see how other brands in different industries kind of tap into that creativity as well.
How do you think this is going to affect how people view social media marketing and digital marketing moving forward?
I mean, there are definitely platforms that have existed for a while that are also kind of evolving in their own way. I mean, take Pinterest. It's obviously predominantly a place where you can search sort of DIY projects and stuff, but it's also apparently been really, really good in the e-commerce space. And, I heard that on Pinterest, people are actually purchasing things more organically. And that's because when you're on Pinterest, you're actually searching for things. So it's less about reacting to an ads.
That makes a ton of sense. I think the organic versus the paid sort of pushing an ad onto people really affects how certain consumers will purchase. And moving forward, it's probably something that a lot of brands are probably going to put a bit more effort into, whether they want to go for the organic or if they want to just shove a large sum of money at something and try and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, that's probably another reason why people or marketers would look for alternative platforms, because on Facebook and Instagram, it is such a pay-to-play environment. So it's kind of like, if there are alternative platforms that you can utilize to reach your audience, then it's sort of like, why not try it? I suppose like Reddit is another good example. And it's less about being a place where you can sort of sell your products or services, and it's more better for market research, for example. So because of the discussion feature of Reddit, it's a good place for marketers to kind of sense out the vibe of their community. And it could be another way for marketers to sort of ask their audience about how they feel about their brand on a platform that isn't Facebook or Instagram. So yeah, and another good thing about Reddit is that you can also really niche down and target the kind of customers you want, because with subreddits you can really engage in more sort of concentrated conversations.
Hi, I'm Katina. I'm a social media manager here at Milkbar Digital. I take care of a few clients myself. I also manage a team, and I particularly love the analytics and reporting side of things.
What's one of your favorite trends that you've seen in social media in the last 6 months?
Something that's been really cool to see recently is that people are moving away from just judging the success of something based on its likes. So I can't remember exactly when it happened, but sometime last year, Instagram removed likes, and pretty much every single person freaked out. It was interesting because it was something that rolled out at a few countries, and people were thinking, what's it like in those countries? I can't see likes. What's it going to mean when it happens here? So it was a big freak out moment. And I think what it's actually done is it's given us a better understanding of what's actually important.
With the removal of likes, how do you think that's going to affect everyday users of those platforms?
I think there's a few different perspectives, but definitely from a personal sort of perspective and just, an everyday sort of person using them. I think that when we heard of the change, a lot of us really understood it. We're all kind of aware of how much of our lives are spent on social media these days, and how we kind of, even not on purpose, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others based on things like the amount of likes that a post or a photo or anything will get. So I think we all saw it as a bit of a welcome change, so we could personally stop feeling like we had to keep comparing ourselves.
And how do you think this will affect industries like marketing?
I think initially probably would have impacted it quite a bit. For some businesses, it still might be a bit of a question mark for them, but I think it was a really good thing for us to reassess how we measure success. So, for example, if we're just looking at influencer outreach, how do we know who's a good influencer or not? So it made us think about a lot of other things instead that are more important.
How do you think this change is going to affect things moving forward?
I think what it's going to do is it's going to make brands look at things from a bigger picture. So for example, if it's a brand looking at the success of their own campaign, they're going to look at things like the stats that they're going to get from things like Facebook Ads Manager or the Instagram Insights, things like reach, impressions, how many clicks, how much brand awareness did this campaign create. They're going to look at things that are more quantifiable as well versus something then alike. Probably from an influencer point of view, they're going to look at influencers and think about whether they're on brand more. I guess you can kind of think of in the past, if an influencer had a lot of likes, even if that influencer wasn't on brand, a brand probably would have considered them for a campaign. Whereas now they're going to take a step back and think, but hang on, before I actually find out more about this influencer and whether or not they're a good fit for me, are they actually on brand? They're going to look at things like the quality of their content. They're going to look at things like if they've worked with a recent competitor, if that's going to affect their campaign. And they're also going to be having a look at things like their engagement. So not just those likes, which you actually still can see through a desktop if you go on there, but do they receive genuine comments?
Do you feel that this is going to shake up the whole influencer brand arrangement in any way?
Definitely. I think it's going to make the whole process a lot more transparent. I think that if brands still are really interested in finding out about likes, they're going to request for more analytics from the influencer before they even start working, asking things like, what's the average amount of likes you usually get on a post? And they're trying to get a hand on those sorts of stats after the collaboration is finished too. So if it's something that they can't view from the outside, they're going to try to look for that and try to get those numbers to help with their reporting to see if things have been successful.
And do you see this removal of likes as a beneficial thing for the marketing industry?
Definitely. I think that in the past few years, likes have been given way too much I guess like they've been put on a pedestal so high. If an influencer had 1,000 likes and one influencer had 300 likes, people would have automatically gone to the influencer receiving the most likes. But that didn't actually mean that they're a better influencer. There's a lot of ways for people to receive likes these days. Some people, touch wood, some people actually buy them. So looking at the bigger picture, not just likes, I think that removing those has made it a lot easier and probably a better way for brands to actually figure out things like influencer collaborations.
My name is Callum and I'm a social media coordinator here at Milkbar Digital. I do a lot of, obviously, social media, but predominantly TikTok and then Instagram and Facebook strategies.
So what's one of the trends that you've seen be played out on social media in the last 6 months?
I think especially in the last 6 months, more especially in the last couple of months with all the COVID-19 stuff going on, is that of live streams and people going and using social media to go live and engage with their audience that way.
What do you think feeling is the purpose of doing this for a creator?
Well, I think there's a whole bunch of reasons. For example, some creators who might be putting out specific content to a specific audience that might not be showing off their true personality, but by going live, it really allows their audience to get more of an insight into who they are as a person and what goes on behind the scenes, and for them to more interact with them on a deeper level. So I think that's really important thing that a lot of creators are doing to build that audience engagement and to build that sort of brand loyalty almost.
Do you feel like it's having a positive effect on the engagement that they're getting, or do you feel like most people are still staying away from the whole going live aspect?
I think it depends on the brand or the creator as a person, because some people are more obviously outgoing and able to hold up a conversation or engage with people that way. But for other people who may be a little bit different or not as confident with that sort of thing, they might not find as much success with a live stream. So I think it is really important for people who are considering going live to just be aware of the risks of going live, because you can't retake things. You can't take things back once you've said it. People would have heard it and then you can't go back from there. So I think as long as they understand what's involved in going live and know what they're trying to achieve for that specific live rather than just going live for the sake of it, I think it can be a really positive thing.
Are you finding that a lot of creators are moving towards a live stream because they don't have the live element of their everyday, maybe their everyday gigs, or if they're a musician or a comedian or such like that, or in television even? Do you find that that is sort of replacing that part of their creativity, or do you feel like this is going to be a new venture for a lot of people?
I think it's a bit of both. It's obviously going to be a new venture for a lot of people that might not have explored live before, but for other people who, for example, musicians and things who would do performances that are live, they can do that same kind of thing, but just have a camera set up in front of them rather than an audience, which obviously won't give them that same atmosphere, especially with things like comedians who really need to engage with an audience. They might find it a little bit more tricky, but they can go live and it will sort of make their income stream more consistent than just going from all these gigs all the time to completely nothing. Now, especially with platforms like on TikTok, for example, or with things like Twitch, that people can get paid for going live. That's definitely a way for a lot of creators and musicians and other people that rely on that sort of thing to still get an income during this time.
Do you feel like the live functions on, say, an Instagram or a Facebook are a gateway to those larger platforms where you can be paid to live stream, such as a Twitch or something similar?
I think it can be, but there are slight differences between them all. Like, for example, there are some features on Instagram's live that you might not see on TikTok, and some things on Twitch that you might not see on other ones. So each has their pros and their cons. So I think Instagram's now recently just made an update where brands and creators can live stream to Instagram and Facebook simultaneously through the one live stream. Whereas before, if they wanted to do that, they would have had to do it on Instagram first, for example, then film that, copy it, send it over to Facebook and put that up as a story. But now they can do this simultaneously, which is a really good thing. Whereas other ones like Twitch, for example, is a lot more geared towards gaming and live stream gaming. So Ninja, who's now on Mixer actually, but he was a really big creator on Twitch for his live streams with his gaming. So it really just depends on the platform and knowing what the platform offers and who that audience is going to be for you.
Do you feel as though this is going to have a widespread effect on how people use social media going forward?
It'll be interesting to see actually, because obviously we're in a really interesting time right now where everyone's a bit isolated. So a lot of people are going to lives just to get more of a human interaction, because they're not obviously not able to see their friends as often. So by going live or by watching a live stream, it sort of creates almost the same kind of feeling that you would get from visiting a friend or having a conversation with someone, but obviously it's going to be virtual. So once this all is over, it will be interesting to see if lives still maintain that level of interest that a lot of people are having with it right now. I think it'll definitely be an improvement from what it was before all the COVID-19 stuff, but I don't think it's going to be to the same extent that it is currently right now.
I'm Maddie. I'm a social media coordinator at Milk Bar Digital. So my favourite trend probably in the last 6 months has been sort of the uptake in using augmented reality in social media platforms. It's been a really fun and cool new feature that I've liked playing with.
So when you talk about augmented reality, how do you see that being used effectively?
So basically, well, in short, augmented reality is just like using technology to be able to superimpose effects or pictures that aren't real life in using the camera on your phone. So a lot of brands have been doing this for a while. Probably a couple of the first ones you might know was IKEA, where you could see the furniture in your room. But now that the functionality has been built into apps like Snapchat and Instagram, we're able to do really cool things using it. Probably the first example of someone using this was over a year ago now, but they were pretty on the money with it, was Kylie Cosmetics from Kylie Jenner. She released a filter where you could try on her lip kits and see how the shade looked on you before you went and bought it. So it was really giving that personal experience to, her target audience.
It seems like it's just a really fun way for brands to sort of spread their influence on customers and give them a personalized experience.
Yeah, definitely. And even though it may not seem like advertising, it definitely is in a positive way, because you are building that sort of positive, friendly connection between the brand and yourself. For example, KFC did it with like, what chicken meal are you? I think it was. And like, I think that got a whole lot of engagement because I saw them post like their insights on Instagram.
Do you think this is going to have some sort of an impact on how digital marketing moves forward?
Definitely. I think it's sort of paving the way for things a bit more innovative, a little bit more different, and a little bit more engaging to customers. So it's not just your stock standard ad. People are looking at all different ways to get involved with their audiences. For example, even on Snapchat, you have kind of inbuilt augmented reality games now, where it's a filter where you have it on your face, but you can like duck and dodge elements. I've seen this done for McDonald's. I'm just naming fast food brands, but like I'm sure there's other brands that have done it as well. And yeah, it's kind of like gamifying advertising a little bit. I've also seen like sort of individual influencers and creators make filters as well, because it's not just limited to businesses. Anyone can build it. That's like another great positive. It's becoming so, user friendly to like develop these kind of things. I've seen, influencers make filters and share them, and then they've gone viral across the globe. A couple of days ago, this girl that I know shared some stats from one filter that she posted, and it had over 30 million captures worldwide in the last 6 months. So it's pretty crazy how big like the reach can be. Like I've seen a few little filters being made. I'm like, oh, that's a cool filter. Maybe I'll go on their page and see if they've made any more. And it's just this like random person from a small town, and now they have 200,000 followers because they make cool filters. And
that's nuts. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Get onto that early, then there's definitely a big reward for it.
A big thank you to everyone for joining in on this episode, and a big thanks for you for watching and listening. If you've seen any trends that we didn't cover in this episode, be sure to leave a comment below or send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. And if you would like to give your social media strategy a leg up, Milk Bar Digital is here to help. You can get in contact with us at hello@milkbardigital.com.au, and remember to like and follow us on all the socials at Milk Bar Digital. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.